Hey everybody, it's Stephen the OWGamer, along with Sixsevsairis, ScottDevonKane, and one of our guest reviewers this time will be Mr. Game Hunter. The Game Hunter. Are you still 09 or...
Depends on where I am online.
Twitch, for Twitch, sir, for Twitch. Where we all
I should
Twitch.
be the Game Hunter, but I might be 09 on there as well.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Indie Source Podcast, where we're going to be reviewing a whole bunch, that's an exact number, a whole bunch. There'll be 4 games in total being reviewed tonight. So, yeah. We have Scott doing, I'm trying to think of all the game names now. Foregone, we have Steve doing Graveyard Keeper, we have Game Hunter doing Ghosts N DJs, and I myself am doing Outbuddies. So... We have some good games. I think we're going to have some good stuff to look at tonight. So.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's going to be... We're going to have a lot of good stuff for you guys this week. And definitely, I'm looking forward to hearing about all of the good games that we have all played over the last month. I am especially excited to talk about Foregone. Let me tell you what. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's going to have to wait, though. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Because we are going to start... I believe, with the review from Sixsevsairis.
Indeed.
I'm getting forced to the front here this time.
Oh. That's what she said?
Give him the push.
Alright, guys. I'm going to admit up front here before I get any further into talking about Graveyard Keeper. I didn't play as much as I wanted to this time. Got about half the game. Felt like I wanted to do 100% this, but we'll get back to that in a bit. So let's start at the top. When was it released? August 15th, 2016. It's been out for a while. It's got some notoriety behind it at this point. It's had a DLC. I don't know if you guys knew about this, but Breaking Dead released for free for people who had it in 2018. Yeah, it's available on Windows, Mac OS X, Linux, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PS4, iOS, and Android.
Damn.
So go get your hands on this game, apparently, because it's on your system. That surprised me when I was looking this up. I was like, well, how did this get so far spread? Considering some of the things that I'm about to talk about here. One is that it's pixel graphics. That's not for everybody. But not everybody likes crafting or indie. Or simulators, or role-playing. I mean, all of these things people might not be interested in. But then there's another category or tag that I'd add here, and that's grotesque and disturbing. And that's because right at the beginning of the game, you die. And you are taken to another place where you are immediately told to cut the flesh off of a corpse and to eat it.
Excuse
There are further body mutilations in of you can take the skull, you can take organs, you can take fat, you can take the skin. There are zombies that you can use as slaves. You're actually told to abuse one of these zombies. Hold on. There's one more part to this that's really important. Not just you can eat that flesh, you can sell it to the merchant in town so other people can eat human flesh too.
One checklist off that fantasy.
Jesus.
So this game, he might be checking off some fantasies, like Mr. ScottDevonKane said. I put in 23 and a half hours of the expected 66 for 100% completion.
Wow.
That's with the DLC and stuff. You guys might have heard of the devs here before. Lazy Bear Games. They made Punch Club in 2016.
Okay.
And then their next follow-up game after that was Graveyard Keeper, which it says September 2018 here, even though it says August 2016 up there. I don't know how these numbers got so mixed up. I may be reading that wrong. There's also Swag and Sorcery that came out in May 2019. And of course, they're still working on Punch Club 2. Normally, I wouldn't talk about all of the games of a developer, but in this case, they've only made 3 games and they're working on their 4th. I mean, some of the things I'm going to be talking in Graveyard Keeper are actually relevant to 2 of those games, but we'll get there in a bit. I want to talk about the publisher as well, because that's what I did last time and what I'm doing again here. Oh, look, an ad on my own video. Can you not? Can I just... Anyway.
I'll just keep this up here for the time being.
It's a private company founded in 2009 by Alex Nichil-Porchik, which I'm pretty sure is a Russian name, and I probably botched it. Luke Burdis and Tom Brayan. I'm not sure if it was founded in Russia or not. I didn't get to see some of that information like I would have, like I did with Ancestors Legacy. But I did find out a couple of things that were interesting. Like, it has 2 offices and considered a worldwide company with only 60 employees in 2017. And it had $180 million in its 2018 coffers to go looking for games to produce. So, it's an interesting company. They have a lot of games on Steam. I'm not going to go too in-depth about that, but another interesting publisher just kind of lurking there on the side in the project. We talked about the engine when we did Ancestors Legacy, so I'm going to keep on that one. This was actually a little bit tougher to find for this game, because all that information I guess gets released differently based on publishers and devs. But Lazy Bear got asked the question by a fan on the Steam forums, and the engine's Unity 5. And if you look at the gameplay, I couldn't tell you what that engine was in, and then you tell me, and I'm like, wow, what? So it's an interesting detail to see. I'm pretty sure Unity is free or mostly free, making a beautiful game like this. I'm not going to talk about the music too much, because something that Lazy Bear doesn't do very well is make a lot of music. They make a couple repetitive tracks that you really like, and that make you wish there was more music in the game. That's just how that works. Now, on Steam, they talked about there's voice acting in this game, and that's not actually correct. There's a kind of sound that's made when the text is read, so you can kind of get the idea of what a person might sound like, but I've never really considered that voice acting, and in this game, it's kind of awkward and hollow. You know, it kind of goes along with that grotesque and disturbing tag we were talking about a little earlier. But from there, we're going to talk about the controls. I only use the keyboard and the mouse, obviously, because it's on Xbox One, Switch, PS4. It probably has some good controller schemes. I was just a little afraid of that after Ancestors Legacy.
Well, the other thing is, it's a lot like in lines with Stardew Valley, so I personally found that with Stardew Valley, I'd rather use keyboard and mouse as well over a controller. Maybe that's just me, but I would imagine I'd feel the same way with this game as well, just because it looks like it'd be better control. It
feels like a keyboard game when I'm playing it, and that was another reason why I went with that. But that leads to a lot of problems. My second biggest gripe about this game has a lot to do with carrying stuff, and we're actually seeing it right here on the video in the stream. I'm like, I want to pick these up and move them, so I'm going to line them up in a line and pick one up and push them north-south. And then when I try and push them east-west, I can only push 1 or 2, and then they'll go like this and they won't stay together anyway. So there's a lot of times where you want to move more iron, you want to move more stone, and it's just inefficient as all get out, and it's so annoying, because then you get it all the way to where you're going, there's a place to put the object, and then instead of facing the object, somehow you face south or east, or just a little off, and you throw it on the floor, even though a microsecond before it said you could place it. So some of those things are really, really awkward and frustrated. But then they added Breaking Dead, and the zombies helped with some of the mindless tasks. I didn't really get into that because they're a little expensive, and what I wanted to do with them, I needed to move stuff up to the other area where we're looking at, of course, in the video right now. Because it's quite a distance to get from there to your main area. But this is where I wanted to play that clip for our live viewers, that little 1 minute thing. If you could go ahead and...
Yeah, here we go.
I've been not paying attention to the screen.
Cool. Alright. So, I didn't notice this at first, but we're talking about cutscenes, graphics, and atmosphere now. And there's just a couple of things that go on here. Like, there's a bird that lands on the cross in the graveyard, and a hand comes up from the grave and scares off the crow and straightens out its own grave marker. And then the water looks beautiful, and the layout actually reflects the layout of the town. Yeah, just everything about that, it's so well done and beautiful, and it makes you want to go explore and live in that world. And that's a lot like in Punch Club, and we're gonna get more into talking about Punch Club as we go, because again, there are specific things that they have in common, but just the level of detail that they can put into a game is insane. I love the way that menu screen looks. I mean, the stars are twinkling, people walk around, the trees rustle, the grass is rustling, there's the fog. You could go on forever picking up little details.
Russell is Russell.
Get out of here. All in all, the atmosphere reminds you of the Middle Ages because there's things like witch burning and stuff. It's pretty immersive. I enjoy it. It's great. That part of the game is about as well done as it could be. Now for the story. Do you remember when I said you get hit by a truck and you die and then you're transported into this world?
Mm-hmm. I don't remember a truck, but go on.
I don't feel like that's adequate enough. So I went and found a story excerpt. In this case, it came off Wikipedia. And I think this is official, but if not, it's at least someone who's played the game and has an idea. The player takes the role of a person hit by a car and awakes to find themselves taking care of a dilapidated medieval cemetery. The player manages their character's time and energy levels as they clear brush, dig graves, and place headstones, keep honeybees, craft goods, mine for stone and metal, engage in social activities, such as witch burnings, with the various residents of the small village, all while earning in-game money to expand their graveyard. The game is open-ended, allowing the player to take on activities as they see fit.
Alright. That's kind of weird that you can get hit by a car, but you still burn witches. I mean, alright.
There's a lot going on there, right?
Alright.
This is why I wanted to find an excerpt that could put it together like this for me, because I was looking from the inside in and it wasn't working well, so this was a pretty good way to sum all that up. And even then, that doesn't cover everything. This game it's like a choose your own adventure, except you're supposed to do the whole thing and they don't tell you.
Saving progress.
That's my biggest gripe. That's why there's a thing about the story here. Normally, I really wouldn't stop to just dissect the story to this level. But when I spent at least 10 game hours not going towards the end game goals and just kind of exploring and interacting and then realizing later that that's what they really wanted you to do, it would have been like, tell me that. And then while I'm exploring, I would try and do more. But for all of the faults to that, it being open-ended is going to be a lot of fun for anyone who wants to play their way. So take that as it is. I've talked a lot about this game already, but the overall gameplay, honestly, is super satisfying. oh, I need to go bury this corpse. Let me go do that. Look, the graveyard looks prettier. Or I'm gonna bury this body and it's gonna get me some food that I don't have to cut from a corpse.
You just magically get it. It was the Lucky Charms.
Yes. And while you're working, you gain pips of science. There are red, green, and blue. Red is the easiest, green's a little hard, and blue is the biggest bottleneck in the whole damn game.
Well, energy.
But even then, getting those pips is so satisfying. This is something that it shares with Punch Club. When you go in the gym and you get those pips and your stat levels up, you're like, yes! It might not even be good for you in a fight, but you're like, yes, I did it! I accomplished something! I understand that I've accomplished a thing. But here, you could pick a science that you don't actually need. You can spend all of those points on something you can't use at all, and you have no idea how to interact with it. And you're just like, so I researched a science, now what? And I'm going to go back and forth like that because both games have that similar thing where there's something I really love coupled with something I really hate. Which is where I'm going to go back to Punch Club for another comparison. We were talking about the pips a little. In that game, you have pip decay. In Graveyard Keeper, they're so friendly as to, you earned that science, you get to keep it forever. But like I said, I mean, you can make mistakes with it, so.
Oh, good way of getting food.
What's that there?
Mistakes.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so. We'll go into another comparison here. The time cycle. Okay, so in Punch Club, it's just numbered days. Here we have Grudge Day, Male Day, Female Day, Staff Day. And people are around on these days. Your whole life depends on communicating to these people on the right day, completing their quests in the meantime and getting back to them. You know, to have kind of a steady flow of progress and to feel like you're moving along in the game. And like I said, if you don't get that you're supposed to do everything, you get 100 days in and you feel extremely disoriented. We were talking about those pips for science. There's 7 different trees, which is a lot of fun. There's not just stuff for the graveyard and not just stuff for the church, which I haven't talked at all about, which that's one of the most satisfying things in the game, is giving someone a really nice grave or going into the church and giving someone such a great sermon that they throw faith and money at you. It's super satisfying parts of this game that you wouldn't expect, but, you know, there they are.
Take my money.
Exactly. But again, I'm going to go back to that. The game gives you little to no direction, and that's... With a game like this, you need some kind of direction. You can't just leave someone on the currents of time and say, good luck, you are a hero. Unlike in Punch Club, the predecessor in a lot of ways, you could understand, okay, I lost this fight. I know why I lost this fight. Here's what I can do to improve. Well, what's this item? I don't know how to get this item. Nobody's ever said anything about it. What? Like, literally, how do you progress when you have no idea how to get closer to what you want? I ended up having to look up a guide to finish playing this game, or to try and finish it. And then I kind of gave up. It was like, it's too late. I don't have the time. I don't understand the nuances of the game yet, like I should. But all of that, you know, put together, Stefan and Scott already know that I'm going to give the game a rating. And I'm actually going to be pretty nice about it, even though there's quality of life issues, a lot of them. I was going to say being vague isn't a quality of life issue, and then I was like, no, it is. It definitely is. I'm gonna give it 15 burial certificates out of 20, it's very fitting for this game because when you bury or burn someone, you get a burial certificate. So I felt that was pretty good. There's a lot that could be improved here still. And you know, it only being a $20 game, I'm pretty sure that's with the DLC. I'm not exactly sure on that off the top of my head. But for the price of the game and the fun that I've gotten out of it, and the fact that I will be going back to complete it, the hang-ups, while apparent and frustrating, didn't drive me away. Let me see here. I have to scroll. My apologies. There were specific sentences I want to say here. Even though it doesn't really fully explain itself, when everything is so fun and you just want to explore, even though you're trying to go home to your love, because you know that's the whole point of the game, is you just want to go back to where you were before. But you're all like, big eyes, and you just, what is this world? That's how you know they brought you a fun, intriguing, in-depth game. We're watching Lazy Bear evolve a formula that can be applied to a lot of different concepts. That's fun and exciting for sure. I'm going to be looking forward to future games from them. But in the meantime, this is definitely a game I will play again. If you guys have any questions, I'll take those before we move on, but I feel like I covered it pretty well.
No, you did cover it quite well. It looks like a really fun game. Like, it looks visually pleasing as well, which is to be expected because the other games that I've seen, such as Punch Club, also is the same type of thing. It looks visually pleasing. It's got
really
that, like, retro kind of feel to it, but still kind of like that new retro.
Modern and well thought out, but while keeping a retro kind of look to it.
And when I was first told about Graveyard Keeper, a lot of people were saying that, oh, this is basically Stardew Valley meets, but you're doing stuff with Graveyard. And I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds kind of weird. What are we, fucking growing graves or something? So anyways,
I didn't mention the farming because it's such a small aspect.
Oh, yeah, well, no, the thing is
that I didn't talk about a lot of the individual mechanics for that reason. Because I'd end up comparing them to something else, and I wanted to compare to Lazy Games, or Lazy Bear Games, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if there was like any, so you say that there's like quality of life issues that you say that could use improvement. What do you think would be like the one thing that would improve the game the most?
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, just giving us, do you want concise understanding of what's going on, or do you want to play in the dark? That would be the quality of life thing that would make this game perfect. Absolutely perfect.
A little bit of extra direction.
That's all I'm asking for. You don't have to give a lot, just put me on the right path. Don't just set me loose in the world and leave me confused. That's it.
That's fair enough.
But yeah, as I was saying before, a lot of people were saying that it's basically like Stardew Valley with, you know, the Graveyard Keeper kind of feel to it. But watching you play it, it didn't seem like Stardew Valley like at all, really.
No.
It was definitely its own game. I wouldn't even make the comparison after seeing that. Mm-hmm. So
the farming and fishing are so different.
Oh God, yes.
I don't want to talk about it, but that is enough to give people the idea that they're different.
Yeah.
When I played this game and I was looking at it to review it and, you know, putting all my thoughts together, I can't compare this to anything but other Lazy Bear games. It's really weird how that turns out, even though it has mechanics from other games that you would try and make a genre out of those, you know, those concepts, but you really can't when they're that.
Well, I mean, the skill tree here even looks very similar to the one that they have in Punch Club as well, right? And then taking different ones to go through different trees and stuff. So, yeah. It's like, where do you focus most of your points? Like, should you be going after a certain one? Should you be mixing it up? Should you, you know what I mean? And it's like you were saying, like, you're not really given a direction, so how do you know other than, like, all right, let's unlock the lowest of this one now, and add the lowest of this one, and, or, you know, should I be just going in a straight line and trying to get the best? Like, who knows? Like, unless you're, like, given that direction, or through trial and error of playing over and over again. Which is not a bad thing, because, I mean, you know, I didn't get these marble things before, so now I'm going to get them in this game and see how much better, you know, it works out or something, which is fine. Replayability is always great, especially these type of games. So,
well, and that was one point I wanted to make sure that got out there. I want to play again. I'm not going to play the same file. I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to take everything I know and play it like I mean it, instead of just the game's going path forward. I'm pretty used to that in most of the games I play, but I think we should close this up here and move on to the next review. We can talk about this game forever if I let it keep going on.
alright, so we'll just switch up a few things here real quick, because I'm the one that's going to... Oh, wow, we were just going into a commercial, too. That couldn't have worked out any better.
Nice.
Buy commercial, eat it.
Timing.
That's all you get. Oh,
no.
Just before you get into your review, I might leave during. I will be a quiet boy, I promise.
That's fine. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to be doing... my review is going to be on Outbuddies. It's a Metroidvania type game. Just going to give you guys a heads up that there is a layout there. You're going to see my webcam and everything else. Don't mind that. Focus on the actual gameplay if you can. And next time, don't worry, there will be a different way for me to do that, so. Anyways, so let's just take off that demo. There we go. Alright. Well, where the fuck? So this might be a little long. So as I was saying, Outbuddies is a non-linear Metroidvania that takes place in a sunken fortress named Balaam, located 36,000 feet deep in the South Atlantic Ocean. You're an archaeologist, Nikolai Bernstein, who, after regaining consciousness, realizes he's now bound to a droid buddy unit, which basically follows you around the whole time. So, alright. I'm going to also start out by saying I did not finish the game. As many of you know, I was having some internet issues, and most times when I was going to go play this, it didn't want to go and work. So I had to skip out and wait. And yeah, and I didn't really want to put out the review again for another month and just miss another opportunity to do other games as well. But I think I've done enough that I think I'll do the game justice as well. So I did manage to get in a lot more gameplay. When I did switch to the dedicated line, I uncovered about 50% of the map. So I feel like I've got about halfway through the game at least, which still feels pretty good. Alright, so starting out, this feels like a Metroid game. Plain and simple. I didn't grow up playing Metroid games, so my knowledge of the series is limited. But from what I've watched and read, which has been everything basically except Metroid Other M, Outbuddies' atmosphere makes me feel like I'm in a Metroid game, and as you progress through the game, you keep feeling it more and more, but at the same time, the game is so different that it stands out from being just a Metroid game. The developer did a great job of making the game as good as it is, despite how frustrated I got at times, which could be my skill in these sorts of games. It still felt very rewarding each time I accomplished a task. There we go. So, anyways, I'm trying to get back to where I was there. Yeah, see, sorry about that. The developer did a good job making the game as good as it is, despite how frustrated I got sometimes, which could be my skill, but it felt rewarding every time I accomplished a task. You start the game being taught the basic controls. Like most Metroid games, you do pass up areas right away that you know you'll have to return to later. The buddy unit is a nice addition to the game, but I think experienced players may end up ignoring the droid a lot of times until it's necessary to actually use it. Because the droid basically allows you to fully explore an entire scene or area without having to worry about taking damage to an extent. So let me just kind of explain that. If you leave the main character standing in an open area where you can be hit or attacked by an enemy, like a little one of those moving ones that go all the way around the levels, you can still get hit while you're off using the little buddy unit. So, if you do get attacked, that's on you. Otherwise, if you place them somewhere safe, like on a platform that has nothing on it, you should be okay to explore. And you can literally make the droid go through walls, objects. You can fully explore what hazards are coming up, other enemies that are present, and where the exits are in each of these explored areas. Alright, so it does, however, have some other features that can be helpful. The first being an active scanner, which if you hold the button and move the droid slowly along the screen, it'll scan over the area it's passing over, displaying any potential traps, obstacles, or even hidden areas that can be accessed through bombing. Another feature it has is the ability to interact with non-living objects, particularly these large stone-like faces, presumably the faces of the old gods that once owned and inhabited the fortress to begin with. The droid can make use of a beam to interact with and move the large stone heads in order to solve puzzles, or allow Nikolai to give him the help he needs in order reaching other areas he wouldn't have the chance to explore otherwise. So basically an extra platform. Sometimes you can stack two of them on top of each other as well. The last feature I was able to get for the buddy unit was the ability to shoot beams at enemies, which had a couple of different functions. The first one could outright kill an enemy. The second one could actually turn the enemy into like a nicer version, where basically there was like one area is able to transform the enemies so that instead of shooting out acid or poison, they're actually shooting out missile and health refills the entire time instead. Which, yeah, right? Doesn't that sound amazing? Yeah. So, you could also transform some of the enemies into platforms, which was helpful in reaching some areas in particular that you would otherwise be, impossible to get to. So, all in all, the buddy unit was quite useful and a nice addition to the game. And as I said before, for an experienced Metroid player, the droid could be used for its other functions and not to explore, and I think they'd still be fine with using it that way, but I'm sure people would still use it to explore, because why not? You have it for that purpose. So anyways, getting back to the game itself, the map is huge. Like, it's really, really huge, really big. I don't think you'll be disappointed in how large it is and how well laid out it is. It shows where each type of door is, if you've gotten an item or solved the room. The only issue that I did have with the map is that it did not show some things that would limit you from entering an area. For example, there is this long corridor that is basically made of killer tiles. All of them. Every single last one of them. So you obviously need some type of power-up in order to proceed past, or whether you can walk on them, or maybe you get one of those space jumpy things like the Scott, you know what, the one for jumping in Metroid. That's also the screw attack. That's what I'm trying to think of. Jesus. So maybe you get a screw attack or a space jump or whatever to be able to just keep going across there, which, okay, that'd be great. But I mean, it's not a big deal if you look at this map in an hour, after its discovery. But in my situation, it was a couple days or so before I could get back to the stream, the game again. So I'd look at that area and be like, oh, great, look, I can go to that area and go through that door I haven't opened yet. Except the door is at the end of the death tile section. So I'm going to go and waste my time going there to remember that. So the same issue can be said with other areas. There's one with fire, and there's one with, like, toxic poison. It's supposed to be the sewers. That, again, you don't know that it's there. You just have to go back there and be like, oh, I can't really do anything here. So highlighting these obstacles would be a little bit beneficial in just saving time when you're returning to the game at later times if you're a little longer than expected. Alright, so the control in the game. I thought it was very good. Like any other new game, it will take you time to get used to the way the controls are fine-tuned a certain way. But once you get accustomed, it flows fairly nicely. Some stuff will sometimes piss you off. I can honestly say the wall jumping is one of the things I hated the most in this game sometimes. Not that they weren't helpful or you couldn't use them to like glitch up into like certain areas sometimes, but I would want to jump straight up to get onto a platform. Instead, I'd be next to the wall, so it would automatically wall jump me and propel me in the opposite direction of where I want to go. And then, again, everything's automatically off in this direction. I'm like, no, stop. But it just, I don't know, it felt like sometimes I'm fighting against the wall jump in a lot of the areas. But I mean, other than that one mechanic to the game, it was pretty solid to control. You can crawl, you can run, you can even have this nifty little steampunk like dash and roll that you have to you basically like dodge enemies and don't take any damage while you're using it, I guess. And in the water, it allows you to swim a lot faster. So in the end, the controls, in my opinion, were great. The game itself looks very visually appealing and bright, even though the atmosphere is dark and 36,000 feet under the sea. All the enemies look fantastic, and I love the general pixel art for all the areas in the game. The music was okay. I say this because in most cases it didn't really seem like music as much as atmospheric ambience. So, which again is quite fitting for the game's locale, and there were times that you did get a good track, but I felt like something was missing. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of game music, so I went out and looked up the composer that they had there, which was Robin Ogden. And oh boy, go and listen to some of the stuff he does, because he is fantastic. He has some really, really good bumping tracks. And maybe I just didn't make it far enough into the game to get that one track that just kind of like, shook me. Like usually you get at least one of those in these indie games at the very least, but I just didn't feel like I got that, which was a little disappointing for me. So again, maybe I just missed it. So alright, so I did enjoy the game for the amount I played this far, and I do want to finish the game all the way through because I want to see where it goes. If there's going to be a sequel or any sort of thing like that. I managed to get a few power-ups along the way. I started with just a standard pea shooter, which then you got like a charge shot for it. I also got bombs, which allowed me to find secret areas more than anything else. And they also allowed you to destroy the walls that keep in the Wozans that were enslaved. Which I actually kind of forgot to talk about. It's a group of creatures that... a group of creatures took over the fortress and captured several of these Wozan creatures. And they're basically a mining underground species that... I guess always live there, but no one knows about them because they're, I guess, subterranean. So part of the game is to seek them out and rescue as many of them as possible. I think it's 70 or 80 that you gotta rescue. If the menu pops up there in the video, you'll actually see it down in the bottom left corner there. So anyways, I eventually did get a missile launcher and a yellow beam gun where the shots kind of traveled and also spread to subsequent enemies, almost like an electrical charge. And the last upgrade I received was a freeze or an encapsulation gun, I want to call it. It basically allows you to freeze the enemies, but it puts them in almost like this stasis bubbles around them. And if you shoot them again, they just come back. I don't know. Because
I always thought that one was kind of weird. I don't mean to hijack here, but
no, it's fine. I assume it was their response to, like I said, the freeze gun, because basically once stuff was frozen, you can use them as a platform, which is great. Mm-hmm. But Yeah, it was a lot along the lines of freeze gun, but I think you could kill enemies too, which I'm pretty sure you can do the same thing with the freeze gun as well, if I'm not mistaken, in like the Metroid games.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
I did fight a few bosses. They were all super fun to fight. I was terrible at those fights, but I did manage to overcome all of them. They all had their own unique patterns, and sometimes it took a little to figure it out, but that was like all the fun in fighting the bosses. The hardest one, I think, was the one that kind of zoomed back and forth. It was like almost like a black shadow type creature, and it would just like
on the walls.
yes, and it would just like poop down all these things all the time, and then the homing little fucking missiles all the time. Dude, like I said, I don't know, I'm probably just terrible at it, but some of those fights were they were harsh. You had to just kind of go in there and just go for it.
No, I don't think it was your skill at all. I mean, Scott can tell more about this. I played a little bit. I played a Metroid. A lot of it is finding out what the weak point of a boss is. Your skill had nothing to do with it. It just happened to be: did I shoot at the right time? Did I hit Did I hit his backside? What do I need to do to kill it?
Yeah. Usually, Metroid bosses are a lot about like just pattern recognition, and with bosses that have like just like random homing stuff, it's usually something along the lines of just out damage it before it kills you. So sometimes sometimes there are like some skill involved with like fighting certain enemies, but like in Metroid type games, it's usually about just like learning what a boss does and not getting hit. And with a boss that has homing stuff, it might be a little difficult,
Shadow Boy is pooping.
Yeah, considering how it bounced off the walls around you, it makes no sense.
That was the other thing. It just seemed like so unpredictable. Like, is he gonna go to one of the left platform or the right platform? Is he going to the ceiling again? Is he going to come down to where my level and dart at me again? Like I didn't know what the hell was going to happen next with that guy. That was the hardest part about him, was that it felt like you didn't really see a pattern to it. It was just okay, just go all out, just go, and that was it. So yeah, I managed eventually. So the last thing that I really wanted to discuss was the exploration. So, as I mentioned before, the map is huge, and a lot of times you will need to go back through many areas you discovered previously in order to progress to a new one, which of course is fitting for a Metroidvania game. There are a few underwater portions that I came across while playing, but I would have liked to see, like, and again, maybe it's because I didn't play all the way through, but a large underwater area, possibly where you leave the fortress and go maybe into like an underwater cave, maybe where the enemies came from, or maybe where all the creatures originated from, how they got in the first place. Because if it's a fortress, shouldn't it be like impenetrable? Isn't that the point of a fortress, kind of thing? So, and then again, I didn't finish, so I don't know. So yeah. This is where I wish I had the time to fully complete the game, as I'm not sure what I could have missed. But overall, the game itself was amazing, and I believe anyone who is a Metroid player, Scott, would actually have a great time playing this, and a fantastic time playing this. Because he'd probably be like, oh, these wall jumps are great, Stefan's an idiot, and I'll be like, yeah, that sounds about right.
There was a portion in the video earlier, tried to wall jump off a thing, and I'm just like, oh my god, please move the block over so you can just jump off the block and go off the wall here. Oh my god, please do this. And like 3 minutes in, I'm like, he's not gonna do it. He's just gonna keep trying to wall jump. I'm like, oh god.
Because I'm pretty sure I got up there originally by just doing the wall jump.
And I'm just like, I've got enough off of this video to be like, just use your buddy to move the block over there. An easier time jumping. Please do it. Oh, he got up there by wall jumping. Alright, hard mode activate.
Oh, yeah, no.
I want to say, I think by that point, you were just frustrated, I think, and you just you weren't thinking.
Yeah, it's... This is kind of like what I would like in a Metroid game, where there's like a whole lot of, like, maybe there's something in the room that can help you progress, but you have to, use that big brain and figure out how to move a block to here, and that block then moves up top there, and you wall jump off and move the same block over. It's like,
here's the boss fight.
This looks pretty cool. Is this the homing missile guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I didn't get to see this fight. Now I'm gonna.
Yeah, you're gonna see me die a billion times, so enjoy that.
Yeah, he does seem to have a pretty random pattern on when he moves.
But did you
And
see
then that
any of the
shot.
map screens at all while I was talking by any chance?
Yeah.
It's vast.
Oh yes.
So yeah,
And that's good for like something that needs to that wants to be a Metroidvania game.
Exactly.
You have to have like big maps.
Yeah.
Because like I've played a lot of Metroidvanias that have just been like, oh, well that's it. All right. Well, I'm glad I'm done already. I would have liked to see more of this area, but guess we're done.
and then the other thing is that people also want to say, how can I get through? How can I cheat my way into this area by going here first, or doing that
Right.
first, or whatever the case may be? How can I, speed run the game basically?
Right.
And yeah,
And
no.
like, especially for like Metroid type games, like just learning how to do specific like sequence breaking things are like huge for speedrunners. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
how to like get it to Ridley before you do anything else, or beating this thing without ice beam, or how to access special areas by going through walls and stuff like that. That's important to players, wanting to play a game like this or speedrunning.
Oh, certainly.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, this definitely looks really cool, and I would love to give it a try, especially as somebody who's apt to playing Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
I might be talking about saying.
I also want to point out as a newbie to Metroidvania, this game with the little droid helper, it actually makes Metroidvania more interesting for me, and I feel like it could be kind of an in for me. So that's another angle to look at it from. Like they wanted to get more people into this genre of gaming instead of just making a game for people who already liked it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do like the whole like the droid exploring thing. I'm a big fan of that, where like just being able to like look around the room and be like, all right, there's a secret here. What do I have to do to get to it? Use that big brain power to be able to get to it. You know what I'm saying? So
Now, something I'll
I
mention
like
here in
that
this
idea.
boss fight that you can't really see much of is right down here next to my webcam. If you see that little red bar here,
yes.
that is actually the boss's health. You do get a health bar for the boss, so you'll know how close you are. And some of the bosses do change forms.
Nice.
Oh, that's right. Metro doesn't give you a health bar. I forgot about that.
Nope. So there are some different things that make this stand out from Metroid as well. And that's good. They kept like the theme for like underwater there as well. Like I can't remember the name of the gun. I could be wrong when I say this, but it's like a seahorse pistol or something. I tried looking it up, but I couldn't find the name of it. I can't remember. But
I don't want to bring up to, I guess, while we're on the subject of some things that I guess it does comparable to Metroid. In the recent one on the 3DS that Scott didn't like, they had like a little, I guess it was an ability that scanned the area for you, but I like the droid better because you can actually see what it's doing. The scanner didn't do anything but other than tell you something's in the room, and you have to go find it before it stopped glowing. So I think that's an upgrade.
yeah.
It does better than that.
Yeah, because especially like even in games like Super Metroid, which had the X-ray scanner, it was just like you scan only what's right here in front of you, and you look around, and are there any secrets here? No. Okay, move to the next thing. Look around. Are there any secrets? No. Being able to use the droid to be able to go, all right, here's the whole area. I don't have to individually like stop and go and stop and go and stop and go. I like the idea of just being able to like sweep it once, go, this is where I have to be, and then going and doing it, rather than like I said, like just stop and go is tedious.
Yeah.
Because you want to be in the action, as much as you possibly can. So the less time that you spend having to, scan an entire room, rather than stop and going, it might take you a little bit longer in the long run to scan with the whole thing with the droid, but you do it once and you're done. Not having to stop the action every 5 seconds to say, oh, is there a secret here? Is there a secret there?
The other thing is, if there's a secret room there and you go over it with the droid, it automatically uncovers. You don't have to hold the button
nice.
for that, but you hold the button to see where the entrance is. Like, okay, now I'm going to move slower. All right, these are the bricks right here, because it'll turn from a blank square with nothing in it to a square with a bomb in it, telling you that you need to bomb in order to get in there. So then you know the way in, and yeah, it's
Nice.
very convenient for that. And that's what I was saying with experienced players to Metroidvanias. They're going to feel either one of two ways: either one, gimme, or two, like, no, I don't really need this other than the features that are what I'm used to having and the ones that I need to use it for. Like turning the enemies into platforms, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I think, like, for somebody like me, like, you know, a more experienced Metroidvania player, I would definitely be like one of those guys who would use it for their first playthrough, and then once you learn everything, it would be like, all right, I'm only using it to switch platforms because you know everything.
Exactly.
So for a first playthrough, I think it would be super useful. After that, it'd be like, you're here to move blocks.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to actually playing more of this and hopefully eventually finishing it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, with the way my schedule is, I'm more afraid I'm not going to be able to get back to it. So even if you get to play it, maybe at least I'll live through your journey and adventure.
Right.
But yeah, the developer for this is Julian Laufer, and I think it's I can't remember it off the top of my head now. I think it's Head Up is the publisher for them as well. The game is actually it's been out since the 15th of October 2019. It's $20.49 Canadian. I don't know if anyone wants to go look up what the American price is for that for me.
$20.49 would probably be like $17.99, I would say.
Somewhere around there, $17 or $18.99. So yeah, and honestly, like I said, if you're a Metroid game player at all, like Metroidvania player, you're not going to be disappointed. I can guarantee you that right now. That's the best thing I can say is I can guarantee that you won't be disappointed in this game.
It is exactly $17.99.
Oh, nice. Oh. There you go. Oh, and I defeated the boss. Yeah, baby.
I watched you play it.
Oh, baby.
I definitely did enjoy that.
All right, so thus ends my review for right now. Thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that would pass the torch over to your old pal SDK over here, who is going to be going over the game Foregone.
Indeed.
This is, right now, it is a Epic Game Store exclusive, so I will be mentioning Steam in it, but right at the moment it is an Epic Game Store exclusive.
If you'd like to know, let me know when I should press play. You go ahead.
You're good.
Good? Okay, cool.
Yep. So a few weeks back during the Retro Indie Pixels podcast, we happened to skim over a game during the Best of Steam portion of the show. The game we looked over was called Foregone, an action side-scroller platformer with a few other tags. Specifically, they were Souls-like and Metroidvania. Not to mention, one of SDK's favorites, female protagonist. How could this possibly go wrong? Everything was there for me, literally waiting for me to sink deep into this game and get real warm and fuzzy. Thankfully, the wonderful devs over at Big Blue Bubble were kind enough to slip us an early copy, so I had the chance to play this firsthand. Was it worth the hype I put into it and more? So now, folks, this is Foregone. The sprawling city of Calagon was once at the forefront of scientific research. Its progress was suddenly halted by the invasion of the rival state, hellbent on stealing its technology. Desperate to survive, Calagon scientists develop a breed of super soldiers to turn the tide, the Arbiters. You are the first Arbiter. Everything explained to you story-wise pretty much right away, and it sets a pleasing aesthetic to the game. We know why we're here and what we're to do. The main protagonist, the Arbiter, of whom I do not believe has any other name quite yet, paints a vivid picture of her travels, giving us a more and more in-depth view of the world she lives in. The state of the world is revealed slowly, and every new area showing the story of how the Harrow and its reanimated minions have ravaged it. There is a point that I want to make here, but I want to come back to that later. For right now, story-wise, everything is pretty solidly in place. I'm going to be giving it a solid B+ for now, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. So graphically wise, as I wrote this, and this is dead truth, I had to pause. I had to pause just straight up writing this. Because my reviews are pretty much scripted, but, you know. Mm-hmm. I had to pause. And I had to look up synonyms for the word wonderful. Because I didn't want to repeat myself. Graphically, this game is nothing short of a pixel art masterpiece. And I say this with true conviction. This game is absolutely gorgeous from head to toe. Foregrounds and backgrounds alike are all absolutely stunning. And character movements and reactions are just pristine. The way the Arbiter moves in every way, from walking, jumping, swinging a weapon, shooting, everything, it's all brilliant. The way blood stains the wall when you shoot things, just phenomenal. Every environment makes you feel like you're not just going through the same thing over and over again. It draws you into the feel of whichever area you're in, from an overtaken mill to a creepy science facility and more. The way environments are handcrafted gives you a true feeling of being there. I felt chills running down my spine as I crept further and further into said science facility because of how superb the design was. Attack animations on the enemies were always clear and visible, and any time I ever saw an enemy, I would know what was coming because I could clearly see what everything was. Even smaller aesthetics were pleasing, like the particle effect of the power overdrive had, giving something as simple as a temporary buff more feeling. The first boss of the game, a giant teeth-gnashing bird, was just magnificent in its design. I had almost forgotten what style of art I was in because of just how awesome it looked. Its movements were clear, and I knew what I had to do. Just an absolute treat. I could go on all day about how amazing this game looks. If you need more convincing, just watch the video, people. Look at it. Look at it! My God. An absolute 100% A+. Everything within the game, sound-wise, is quite pleasing. Music was background, where it should be, setting the mood for the current environment without being overpowering. Every section's track was dead on with the atmosphere, and not every game can do that as well as this one did. And I dare even say it was on par with games such as Symphony of the Night, which is a very high grade in my standards. Everything was in place. Just how the sounds of the sword swung, guns blared, how the impact of a higher jump had a slightly louder thump to it. I can very much tell that there was a lot of tedious work to get everything where it was supposed to be, and it all fell perfectly into place. When an enemy shot a gun, I knew immediately what had happened and to take precautionary measures, no matter which type of gun they were using. Enemies that teleported were very distinct in their attack sounds, which made for quick combat with said foes. Powers that the Arbiter obtained and used made awesome sounds when used and felt more impactful. Overall, everything just made love to my ears, and few games do that nowadays. I wish more devs would put the same time and effort that Triple B has done with this game. Not once did I find myself wanting to turn the sound down, as it would have been a crime to miss anything. A very solid A. So, you all have your favorite genres of games, right? Mm-hmm. There's a ton of games out there that fit every style of player. Frankly, I find myself wanting Metroidvanias more often than not, and catch myself looking for something new and refreshing when I play games of that particular genre. Foregone fits the Metroidvania genre well, and gives me more than I ever asked for. I instantly fell in love with the gear system, as it felt not only into the Metroidvania-like, but Diablo-like loot system. For if you know me at any level, is a huge bonus. Each of the weapon types has its own distinct feel, from the quick and low damaging dagger attacks to the heavy attacks of the falchion. Guns also have their own feel to them. Pistols will allow you to combat from further distance, while the shotgun will want you to get real nice and close to get maximum damage. If that wasn't good enough, enemies enemies and breaking down useless weaponry will net you gold, which you can use to upgrade your current armaments into far better versions of the current. The more you upgrade, the better the main and substats will become, letting you deal more damage, have more health, or deal substantial damage over time, among other effects. Enemies will sometimes drop experience, allowing you to customize your character into a specific playstyle. Are you looking for faster combat, or do you want to have more special abilities that can deal more damage over time? It's completely up to you, but choose carefully, as choosing one tree will lock you out of others. I very much enjoyed this system, as it will allow different styles of play in multiple playthroughs. Now, here's the thing about the gameplay and control themselves. At no time, at any point, did I ever feel like I was out of control. Not once. The controls of this game were taught to you very early and in perfect conveyance, with boxes at the bottom of the screen. They told you what to do, gave you a simple obstacle to try it with, and then let you move on. Perfect. There's no need for all these complicated interruptions in play to try to teach you how to frickin' jump. The controls themselves were super tight, and I rarely, if ever, found myself flustered as to what button did what. Everything flowed nicely, combat was a joy, and the difficulty right where I wanted to be. Not so simple that I just ran through everything with zero effort. Ignore the background video in that statement, by the way. This is my finished game playthrough, just so y'all know. And not so difficult that I wanted to give up. Even as insanely difficult as these Souls-like bosses were, not once did I ever have the feeling of wanting to give up because it was too hard. After beating the second major boss, I felt a true feeling of relief. Like a weight was taken off my chest, that I could breathe again. I love that feeling. That tangible, physical, bodily feel of relief when you win. That sort of thing sets this game apart from other titles in the genre. Now, is everything as perfect as everything else I've been describing? No. There are some things that I very much like to change. As of this recording, the sub-abilities cannot be upgraded in any way. And I'm not sure if there are plans for that in the future, but I would suggest it. Abilities like the healing one need to have a small, very small upgrade. I'm not suggesting that you should be able to heal yourself to full with use, but maybe percentage upgrades like other abilities you can buy with experience. My main, number one overwhelming gripe about the game are the menus. I almost always find myself pushing the wrong buttons. In every menu, where navigating through them required R1, L1, R2, or L2, 90% of the time, I pressed the wrong buttons first. There was something about the layout that just didn't feel right with it, and my simple suggestion would to just be switch those buttons. Wherever it should be R2 and L2, just swap it with the other two buttons. I feel the menus would be far less clumsy that way. The only other complaint is that I feel experience, the blue orb gain, is way too slow. Maybe increases later on in the game, but as of right now, I've only completed one tree, and I didn't max out any of the other abilities on the... These are just small gripes, and every game has something that it can improve on, one way or another.
Yeah.
These things do not take away from the fact that every moment of this game was super enjoyable. Except for one. A very solid A. Now, this is a portion of my reviews where I usually talk about the replayability of a game. And right now, it's hard for me to say what I want without giving away why the story only ended up with a B+. Unfortunately, the game isn't quite finished yet at the time of the recording and review. After the second boss is defeated, I got the soul-crushing news that there was more content coming in the future. And while I understand that the game is in early access, this was devastating. I wanted more and more and more, but can't get that right now. I wanted to know more about the Arbiter and her life, where the Harrow even came from. And sadly, that's all left to postulation right now. That does take away from your... Does that take away from your ability to replay the game right now? Not so much. I'm curious about the other skill trees that I passed and what mixing and maxing might make for the best combat. I want to see what kind of gear I can end up with. And with as many substats to gear and weapons that there are, possibilities are endless. May I have to grind a bit to find those good weapons? Of course, but I've already compared the game to Diablo once, and if there's any game with rewards to grinding, that's the one, and Foregone is no different. When I found my current ranged weapon, it completely changed the dynamic of how I played, wanting to concentrate far more on ranged combat. Specific weapon drops affected how I approached the second boss, and allowed me to heal more. Completely lost where I'm sorry. You have the opportunity to find gear that will very make you look at the game in a different light, possibly with every drop, and I love that about Foregone. While I will once again compare this to Symphony of the Night, that game had fixed drops, and you always knew what to expect on multiple playthroughs. Not so much with Foregone, as the gear system of the game will sometimes throw you a curveball if RNG hasn't taken the wheel for you. That's the nature of this sort of loot system. Sometimes you're just going to find that legendary weapon, and sometimes you won't. Frankly, I love that, and will for sure be playing this game more than a single playthrough once the full game releases. It'll be worth it. For now, I have to give the replayability a high B, as the game isn't finished yet, but I'm sure in the future that score will rise to the heavens as I min-max my way towards the ultimate arbiter. So, time for SDK's final thoughts. Frankly, I'm chomping at the bit. I want more. I can't say that enough. Everything about this game outside of the backwards menus was an absolute thrill, and I played this from beginning to end with no intention of stopping when I did hit the end point. I had every intention of continuing on until I finished, because I was really enjoying it that much. Your boy sometimes has a short attention span, and it takes a really, really good game for him to want to just play and play and play. I'm not sure how many different ways I could say that I just want more, and I'll be checking my Twitter and EGS pages frequently, looking for that glorious day when I'm told I can keep going. Solid, superb combat, tight, nearly flawless controls, a soundtrack that'll blow you away, and Souls-like difficulty that will keep you on your toes with every fight. And let's not forget the most important thing, though, through all of this, the absolutely mind-shattering look at this game. Everything is beautiful. From the Arbiter herself, to the giant enemies, to the vast backgrounds that give this game its amazing atmosphere. Rest assured, everyone, that the moment more content goes live, the SDK will be right there, right away, to tackle whatever the hero has to throw at me. And I'm 100% certain I'm going to love every minute of it. Final verdict, very solid A, 93% out of 100. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have been watching this game, but
it looks fantastic. And as for people comparing it to Dead Cells, yes, but I would go as far as to say that I think the background art is done much better than it is in Dead Cells. Oh God,
yes.
Dead Cells it feels a lot more repetitive, more than like. Now, at the same time, that's the whole point, because you're going to be playing in this game over and over and over and over again. Right. Is this the same type of thing? Is this always procedurally generated, or?
No. As far as I know, no. I can't say that with certainty, but I'm pretty sure that the maps are going to always be the same.
Okay.
But with the gear system being the way that it is, that you're going to be getting different gear every time, like I said, in the review, you're going to have to approach things completely different every time. So, like, with the weaponry that I have now, I have a weapon that does damage over time and a bow that has a chance of healing me after every kill. So, if I didn't have that bow, I would have to approach combat so much differently, because I would have to be a lot more careful, or I would have to do, like, a lot more ranged combat, where with the bow, I'm able to just go in there, get a couple hits in, and try to heal myself, and all the weapons you may feel like, the bow or the shotgun or the pistol may all feel the same. All weapons do not feel the same. Not even close. Every type of weapon feels very different from one another. Where, like, the daggers have, like, fast, close combat, but you have to be, so much quicker on your ability to dodge. As where, like, weapons like the falchion are big and slow, but you're going to be killing everything quickly. So, I found myself, because of the weapons that I found, I used the longsword more often because, I found one that was able to do some crazy damage over time. But, yeah, every weapon is definitely viable. There's never a time when you're going to be like, oh, well, this weapon is so much better than the other one, but I'm not going to use it because I don't like it. Better weapons are just going to be better weapons, and it will cause you to change your play style and adapt, which I think is, like, the main thing about this game is being able to master all of the weapons and all of the abilities that the Arbiter has to be able to maximize your damage and just stay alive longer. And this game definitely wants you to try and put effort into staying alive, because it has some moments where damage is punishing. It's a Souls-like game. There were a few times where I went into fights and it's like, oh, well, these are like the harder type enemies. Well, I'm just gonna go in guns blazing like I do everything else and find myself dying, because that's not what a Souls game is about. It's not about just going in guns blazing. It's about taking your time and assessing each combat differently. So, but again, it will all depend on the types of weapon that you picked up. So, you may end up saying, like, oh, well, I know what's here, but I have different weapons from the last time that I came through here, so I'm going to have to approach this different. Which is what I'm looking forward to in this game. Being able to go through the same game more than once, but having to evaluate it differently every single time you play it.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
No, all I'm hearing is randomizer, but that's not.
I mean, I could see it. I mean, we have to have the full game first, but definitely this is, like, in my opinion, this game is, like, if you were even, like, slightly into, like, platforming or, like, like Metroidvania or Souls-like games, you guys absolutely have to pick this game up, because it was, I think I was on the stream for like 5 hours, I think it took me to get through, like, the first couple sections of the game, and I did not want to put this game down at any point. It was so good, and I feel like anybody who even thinks about wanting to play a game in this sort of genre should definitely give, Foregone that try. Right now, like I said, it's an Epic Game Store exclusive, currently going on. It's on for $24.99 by Big Blue Bubble. So I would suggest everybody give it a try. I thought it was really just superb. You guys saw exactly how beautiful the game was. So just for the the handcrafted pixel art alone, it's definitely worth the buy. So give it a try. So that'll do it for SDK and Foregone. So I'm going to now pass it over to the Game Hunter.
Okay, well, yes, the game I got a chance to play was DJs and Ghosts, or was Ghosts N DJs. I keep mixing those two, names up. But Stephen gets that video up.
Yeah.
You can. Sorry, you've been playing.
I should probably skip ahead a little bit. I understand. I do those things too.
I guess I can start off here. Pretty much the story. Essentially, as you can see right here, apparently you're some DJ, or I guess a well-known DJ called Dr. Cucho. Apparently, the main crux of the game is the world's being ruined by fake DJs and whatnot, and there are a bunch of enemies you're fighting. You start the game off, pretty much throw you into it because he's mad. There's no real big story on it, from what I can tell. It's just that you're just a renegade DJ attacking and killing everybody who makes music you don't like. Basically, we go through there's 3 levels in this game, and there are 4 enemies. You get attacked by a devil-looking man. Out the gate here, you'll see one of the enemies. Actually, you'll get attacked by it. It's some random coming out of the ground right there. As you can see, one of the basic part of the attacks you have are a cassette.
I was about to ask, like, is that cassette? You're just chucking it?
Yeah, they're first you start the game off with cassettes, and they're really funny because I was laughing so hard when I was playing it. But you just don't have cassettes you throw. You also have vinyls, CD-ROMs, these really weird looking pen drives that are the worst weapon in the game. But the thing is, I think the fun thing about this game is that not every enemy can be killed just by one weapon. We'll have sometimes an enemy like that will jump over your weapon. The vinyls roll on the ground and they can't be used to kill a particular enemy. You also have an enemy who will, I don't know if he'll pop up here, but he'll be hiding around everything, like that guy right there. He'll be hiding around something and he'll scare you to run a different direction. A lot of enemies have varying effects on you. Sometimes the flying guy right there, he's really annoying. He's just the upgraded version of one of the ground enemies there.
Or it could be like the Red Devil from Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah, essentially this is, well, not Super Ghouls, this is a leveler to Ghosts and Goblins, I think is what the name is. But yeah, the gameplay is very hard at times, very rewarding at other times. I didn't really play the game that this was kind of like, modeled after a little bit, a lot. But it's very straightforward. You don't find yourself being lost at all. Things get thrown at you really quickly, so you have to be thinking on your feet quite quickly. And sometimes if you have the wrong weapon, which by the way, you get the weapons through chests on the ground, and they're randomly generated. So sometimes you can end up with a vinyl. Sometimes you can end up with the pen drives. It's a very essentially. I took it as this guy was throwing his mixtape at you, and I think that's what I even called it when I was playing it. But you'll find yourself being either attacked a lot or being attacked very little. I don't understand how the enemies spawned in, because sometimes I found myself. I think I was being bombarded by a lot of bat enemies. Like I said, a lot of the enemies are very difficult to when you first introduce you to them. They're really difficult to figure out how to hit them. Sometimes you'll just throw a cassette at them to see how much it works. How much damage it does. Sometimes the enemy will get killed immediately by a vinyl. Other times the enemy will take 5 hits from something as weak as like a pen drive. Some of my complaints are with, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but when I was jumping around sometimes, it might have just been how fine-tuned the gameplay was, but I found myself sometimes going through things I thought I could land on. You'll see that in the next level that this game has, this next level this game has, which I think this game only has 2 levels. And I found myself dying a lot, so the replayability was in there for me. I felt like I had to figure out a way to beat this game because it was laughing in my face almost every turn. When I wasn't prepared for something, it would smack me, and it was very, very irritating. So like I went with the weapons, but I guess my biggest complaint was sometimes the difficulty was all over the place. I found myself that apparently this game has 3 difficulties, and I was playing and beat this game on the easiest one. One of the things they kind of make you do, and maybe makes you feel you're rewarding yourself from it, is playing one of the other difficulties. Because like, when you beat the easiest one, the creator apparently puts in a cheesy line saying that play this difficulty, it will make you respect you. I actually was going to attempt it, and then the games got ridiculously difficult. This game here, as you can tell in the gameplay is showing on the screen, is, difficult in its own way. But right here, like this right here, sometimes I miss the air condition. So I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was just me jumping too short, but sometimes I would miss going up a chimney or something like that. I don't understand what it was. So sometimes I felt like the game was cheating me. Sometimes I felt like maybe I was just really bad. Speaking of enemies that you can hit somehow, hit them with different abilities. That devil dude, he was really annoying. It took me a while to figure out that you had to hit him with a vinyl, because he would jump over whatever you hit him with. So it was at the end of the day, this game was a very difficult, but I found myself wanting to come back to playing it. I actually finished the playthrough I had. I was going to play it again on higher difficulty, but I couldn't do it. It just, it was so difficult for me, and I like playing, difficult games, but I think this game was like more on the level of somebody who played Ghosts and Goblins, maybe. They would enjoy this more than I would.
You got some sick speed boost.
But this game, the game is actually free. So one of my bigger complaints about this game was about how short it was. But I didn't know it at the time. But the game was free, and it came out in February of this year. I think it was February 20th. I think is what it came out on. Was it February 15th? Let me check that out. Actually, I had that down here somewhere. February 6th. My bad. It came out on February 6th of this year. So this game was relatively new, and it's free. So I really can't complain too much about like how short the game was. Because I feel like I got to the final boss of the game, and I was expecting more, but only to find out the game had ended, and that's really where my disappointment came from, was how short it was. I'm like, I didn't know it was free, so it was one of those things where, dang it, I beat the game already. I felt like I was cheated. But
I guess you're just trying to sample
anything.
What to do.
All I can say can be displayed just by me playing it. I don't really have much to say on it. I enjoyed every minute I played of it. I guess there was another thing too. There's a cameo of some guy called DevMouse. He's a power up, and I don't know if it'll pop up here. But the funny thing is, I found myself laughing even harder. This game was very funny, but the DevMouse power up, you get this golden mask, and then whatever you have, it's turned into you throwing a neon cat. And the funny thing about that attack is, it attacks anything on the screen. It will stay on the screen until as long as there's enemies on it. So essentially, it's a continuous attack, and it's like the most powerful thing I discovered in this game. I don't know if it'll pop up in. I know I played it at some point. I know I got it at some point. If you want to speed up till you see it, but it was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen. If anything, it was like the funniest thing in the game, and I was like looking forward every time I start the game up again. I guess another small complaint too is that when you die, you get thrown back to the very beginning of the game. There's no save point, so you have to play it through from beginning to end in one sitting. Yeah. But that's probably because it's twice so short. CD-ROMs, another funny.
Probably gotta play through it twice, anyways. If it's anything like super.
Yeah, I think you gotta play through like more than twice. Honestly, there's so much in there that you probably don't.
No. When I say more than twice, I mean like when you finish the game, you play through it again and finish the game again. Because that's how Super Ghouls and Ghosts is. You don't get the real.
Yeah, this is the final boss.
Twice. Oh wow!
He comes off. He comes from underneath the bridge when you run across it.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow!
Essentially, I had the CD-ROMs and I killed. I forgot. Yeah, this game is very witty. Actually, I would say if anything I've played that had a very short amount of gameplay to it, this was probably the funniest. It might not be in this playthrough. I know I've seen the Dead Cat, but I would say if you want to see what that does and how powerful it is, play this game yourself. Yeah. It's free. I think it's really worth the price of entry. So it's one of those games I would say, I would definitely play it again. Probably after I let it sit in my Steam library for a little bit. Yeah, this game kind of got me really frustrated, more than any game I've ever played in the past.
Yeah, well, that's like the game that it's modeled after. So
yeah, I'm fully aware of that. I only became aware of that after playing a little bit on my Switch Online. So I got what I asked for. A difficult game, and I enjoyed it. I'm not really one for difficulty, but that was like one of those games. Like, yep, I actually really enjoyed it. Jokes and all. But yeah, essentially, that's essentially what it is. Like, I give it like an 8 out of 10. I won't give it a full 10 out of 10 because the game is free and also was really short, but I definitely enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. I think,
it's
like
free.
I said, it almost, because it's free, I almost feel like it's like more of a, hey, this is what we can do in our games. So I think that they're probably going to have some better games coming soon, because it looks like it's fairly well done.
He's made like 3 other games. It's called Dr. Kucho Games. He's got like 3 other games he's made already on his website. So he's definitely made some other games before, but this might be like a test, as you said before, as like what he plans to do.
Maybe a new style or something he's doing, who knows? Or maybe it's just because he wants to do a tribute to Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins, whatever.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds like that's what the game's all about.
It's definitely one of like it's like in that genre of Ghosts and Goblins. Like it just wants to be just like ball-breakingly difficult, and when you play it in the easy version, it's like, hey, don't be a wimp.
Yeah, there goes
play it hard. You know what I'm saying? Get the super put in here. Don't be a wuss.
You beat the game. It literally says, "You want my respect? Play it harder." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It literally says that to you.
Have you guys noticed that the jump there is also ghouls and goblins? Like the way he moves his legs, like it's
not
very specific. Like he pelvic thrusts forward or something. I don't know how to describe that any other way.
I guess one thing I want to point out too is the fact that you notice how slow he's moving. I didn't notice this until I switched to difficulty. But for whatever reason on easy, he runs faster and he jumps way farther. Like on harder difficulties, his jump and run are just slowed down. I guess another thing I point out, like hit detection, I would sometimes miss those ladders. So it was one of those things where I felt myself like, was I doing something wrong, or was it just a detection on something? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that to this day either. So maybe it was just how bad I was playing.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a lot of fun for like anybody who's a big fan of Ghouls and Ghosts.
It's
give
free.
it a try.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's free, so I mean, the very worst, you'll
not losing anything to the experience.
Yeah. Ooh.
Definitely looks like a lot of fun.
Oh god.
I want to hit some people with some pen stick USBs.
This game
a shotgun blast, man.
It's probably the worst weapon in my.
It was coming.
Well, look at this.
It's the worst weapon in my opinion, but
I was watching it kill stuff in one hit though, so you have your perspective, and I'm just gonna point out what I saw.
Anybody in one shot, but that was probably just me not paying attention.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Jeremy's known for not paying attention.
I know for smoking weed, so where are we going with this?
All right.
Does that mean that I pay less attention? In this case, no. But anyway, we're gonna move on. It was 4 great games this week. That was crazy.
Indeed.
My mind is blown. I need to go dig some more graves, guys. Do you want to live in my beautiful corpse garden?
I'm gonna give that the hardest pass. Okay. First thing you do, hey, you want to eat a guy? No. You know what? I don't think I do. No.
I blame Graveyard Keeper for all of that.
I blame Graveyard Keeper for my sudden need to eat people.
Yeah, he's got like a body in the background. He's just chomping on that for periodically. He's been eating the human in the background for the last couple of hours.
This has nothing to do with the games that I play.
He's going for a piece now.
Yeah, see? Leave some for me, Steve.
There's enough left for you, Scott.
All right, man.
No one will know. No one will know.
All right, so yeah, I mean, great games from everybody.
Indeed.
Thank you for everybody who came by today. Appreciate all of you guys. Definitely enjoyed the chat we had going on at this through this podcast. Definitely, again, thanks for you guys for showing up.
Yeah, it was a great podcast. And it seems like we all played games that we enjoyed, which was good. Hey,
that's a great podcast right there. Playing games we love and talking about them, telling the truth.
So
core mechanics. Sorry.
If anyone wishes to get games out to us for review, best way is to get us through Twitter. Direct messaging was probably the best way of doing it, through email, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure everyone's channels should be down below in the description of the video anyways. So, but I'll be doing up a little thing on Twitch eventually so that we can have people be able to find out what types of game you guys like, what your emails are, all that other stuff. But we'll do that at another time. But anyways, thank you all for joining us. It was an excellent podcast, Indie Source podcast. Can't wait to review some more games. I'm not sure who's going to be with us next time. It could be just the 3 of us. Maybe Jeremy will be joining us again. Who knows? Either way, have yourselves a good month, because it's going to be a month before you see us again. It gives everyone plenty of time. So, all right, have yourselves a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.